three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, everyone, welcome to Teaching Crypto. This is a celebratory edition as last night we reached 1K subs. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much to every single one of you, especially those of you that have been with us from the beginning. We truly, and I mean this, appreciate it. And it is our goal to grow this channel bigger and bigger. So first of all, thank you so much, Mr. Fomo.
Yes, I can't thank you guys enough. Interacting with you guys has been the best part of this channel. Kind of, at first we started out, sort of commiserating together over Voyager and everything we lost and all the problems that we had. And from there, we've grown to something much more, and our interactions have grown to more than just Voyager news and things about Voyager. Even yesterday, you guys were poking a little bit of fun at us, and that was just awesome. And so the more that you guys have come on board and the more that you've interacted with us, the more fun that has actually made this channel. We never in our wildest dreams thought we would, get this far. We had a feeling we had a chance, but you guys made it happen, and we want to thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you to everybody. And if you have any suggestions or if you want a project covered, by all means, please reach out to us. We'll put our Twitter handles in the description today, and we'd love to have you. Absolutely. Yeah, they've if you ask for a update on your address, they sent you information on how to do that. And we're going to have a Voyager update very soon. Talk a little about it today, but I want to talk more with admin and get you guys some more information. So don't worry, everyone that was in Voyager, we're going to keep you guys updated all the time, and we'll have a new update coming. Mr. Fomo, I did really want to piggyback on yesterday's show about Bitcoin. We have not gotten that bump, but I still say it's coming. And I wanted to share something that came across today. Now, again, charts are not always correct, so you want to be very careful. But if I could show this chart to the audience here, and if you look at it closely, basically this is from someone that does charts out every day. We have a volatility squeeze shaded printed on the weekly chart. The last 3 or 4 times that this has happened, it's led to explosive trends, and now normally it's led to an upside, and you see here we're in the green. So Mr. FOMO here, TA is not always accurate, and I try to follow as many people as I can and learn as much as I can and bring the viewers as much information as we can. It just seems like there's a lot of evidence piling that sooner or later in the next few days, in fact, I will be shocked if a week from now we're under 30K. Now, again, I could be dead wrong. I've been dead wrong again. This channel is about honesty, and I'm going to open up about something I did this morning that is a drastic change from what I'm doing this summer. So we'll talk about that later. Here's the thing. There still could be more downside, so be careful, especially if you're a leverage trader. I want to say be very, very careful. We had a viewer yesterday in the comments say he thinks we're going to 28K this weekend, and that is another possibility. You just never know. The U.S. government still has a lot of Bitcoin needed to sell, and they said yesterday they were going to do that over the next 18 months. So they've just done it recently, but who knows when that on that day could mean a red day, and that could anticipate some longs being liquidated. But Mr. FOMO, it just seems like there's a lot of evidence here. We talked about yesterday, last chance before 30K. We don't know when that day is. Is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it this weekend? Seems inevitable.
Yeah, and I'm reminded in these times, how 50-50 a lot of this stuff is in TA. A lot of people call TA, astrology for men. And so, take that with a grain of salt. When they talk about these setups that are going to explode, or they talk about an upward moving channel, or they talk about a head and shoulders setup, they're talking about setups that move up maybe 60% of the time. You're not talking about sure things when you're talking about TA. So be careful when you're looking at the charts and you're following people who are strictly TA people, because these setups look nice and they talk a big deal about how they're bullish setups. Some of them lie about it, but they talk a big deal about how these setups are bullish, and the idea isn't that it's bullish to 90% of the time or 100% of the time it breaks to the upside. We're talking about maybe 62% of the time it breaks to the upside, which is, for my money, just a little bit over 50-50. So take it with a grain of salt when you hear people saying, the charts are telling us that Bitcoin's about to explode. Sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're just blowing smoke. So it could be that the charts are telling you that, and then it could be that the market goes and does something exactly the
Yeah,
opposite.
I mean, to be honest, news could come out that the ETFs are not being accepted, and that's going to be a red day. And so you want to be very, very careful. Obviously, we're not financial advisors, but I'm just seeing a lot of evidence here that Bitcoin is ready to make that next move, and I do anticipate it sooner rather than later. And I'm going to keep saying this. I think August, especially the beginning to mid-August, is going to be a good month for Bitcoin. Now,
and I would base it a lot on timelines too, right? So we can usually count on about 6-ish months out from the halving event, and about 18 months after ish. So that still puts us a little bit off as far as history is concerned. But there is always that argument for this extended cycle, the cycle growing as more money comes in, as more interest grows, as more positive news comes in, like ETFs. We'll see how it works out. But for my money, this is the time to be getting in. Even if it dips again, why not,
you're right. I mean,
more. If it's something that you believe one day will get to $100,000, then, what's the difference?
What's the difference between buying at 29.5, 29.4, 29.3, or 28.9? I mean, obviously, you'd love to get it at 28.9. But again, we keep saying this, and I think this is important. Timing things are never perfect. Speaking of not timing things perfectly, this morning I made a major decision, Mr. FOMO, for my portfolio. And as you know, June and July were Litecoin summers. And just for me, not financial advice, I decided to end my Litecoin summer early and move it into something else. And it was a difficult decision. But here's the thing. We talk about not being married to projects. And I'm positioning myself for August now, which I think is going to be a good month for BTC. And that means I think some of the alts are going to run, right? And I had to pick one that I was most comfortable with. And it might surprise people. It wasn't XRP. It wasn't Solana that I'm also high on. But I decided to pick, drum roll, and I talked about this one a few weeks ago when it was at 6 and it ballooned up to 8. I picked Chainlink. And you might say, well, man, wait a minute. Why Chainlink? That's one of the dinosaurs, right? Well, here's why I picked Chainlink. First of all, yes, I could pick something that's much, much lower cap with maybe a higher chance of getting a higher gain. Remember, my strategy, not financial advice. I'm not trying to hit a grand slam right now. I'm trying to make singles and doubles and just build up my portfolio when it comes to alts. And here was an interesting tweet. And this is not the only reason that I chose Chainlink, but Lark Davis, who does a great job himself. Chainlink CCIP aims to connect all blockchains into one. If they succeed, that'll mean no more bridges. That's pretty significant. You can use the same token across any blockchain. You can see my retweet here, gigantic if they pull it off. Chainlink just on Twitter/X, whatever it's called today, we'll start calling it X, I guess, is getting more and more attention. We saw the price volatility. We see volume coming up. And so for me, I had to make the tough decision. I've loved what Litecoin has done in terms of being right below 70 when I started doing videos on it, and it went up to 114, got back up again to 100 one more time. And then the problem was for me last week, Mr. FOMO, it couldn't break 96. And I'm looking and I'm seeing we're getting closer to the halving. I made the difficult decision. And it's, again, you can't be married to these tokens, that for August, I was going to put my energy, for now, things could change, but into Chainlink.
I think this is a great idea. And even though you said you mentioned it was one of the dinosaurs, I think it was only around since 2017, but I guess that's a dinosaur in crypto. But the thing I like about Chainlink is that they were an Oracle play, right? They helped smart contracts, or they still do. They help the execution of smart contracts cross chain. But as the market has evolved, as companies like Cardano and others have built their own oracles into their systems, Link is evolving into something more than just an Oracle play, right? And so that is what I like to see out of them. Even though they are a dinosaur, they're not sticking to that game plan. They
Yeah.
see that companies like Cardano are integrating their own oracles. And so they're making their product more marketable, interoperable across chains. And so that's what I like to see out of these companies. They're not just going to be a flash in the pan. It's that evolution, that research and development, the ideas moving forward rather than just stagnating.
Yeah, and I think you remember with crypto, it's not really about utility. It's also about what's making the news. And I just think for August, you're going to see Chainlink do good things. And so I decided to go there. And we'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys updated. The big thing about the show is we want to be honest with you, right? We don't want to lie and say, hey, I'm in Litecoin forever, or Mr. FOMO did that, wonderful video last week on quant. I'm in quant forever. That's just not the way we view these tokens. Now, you can easily buy these because we're so early in the bull market, not financial advice, and just sit. If you sit on right now Litecoin, you'll be fine in the long term. In fact, you probably make a good amount of money. However, for me, I'm using these profits to just get into something else, and I thought it was time to move on. And again, I'm not emotionally connected to these projects, and I think that's a big mistake a lot of us made in the last bull run. I know I did. Is you fall in love with a project and you see that the tokenomics and the hype is somewhere else, and the other token hasn't quite jumped yet, and it's on a retrace, and that might be a better token in the short term, but you stick with yours because you want to be right, and you can't be like that. You got to have that growth mindset in the short term.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. And there will be some people who will say, well, what if my token that I convert out of pops off when I'm gone? Well, you could always leave yourself a moon bag, right? You could leave yourself a little bit there, excuse me, and then convert to something else with a majority of your position in case you think that's going to happen. But like you said, the smart money isn't just sticking with one thing throughout the entire bull run, right? If they are, then they're putting a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, right? They're hedging all the way across. But, the smart money in crypto, and you can look on Coinbase, it's a real simple place to look. You scroll down on your cryptos, even Bitcoin isn't being held for an entire year by the average person on Coinbase. And so I know I kind of harp on that idea, but when you see that most of the people are staying in some of these cryptos for as little as a week, then you have to understand that that's how the smart money is moving in this market. And you have to be willing to also move that way. I can love Litecoin for the future, but I don't have to have any money in it right now, right? Like,
well, there will be a time
project, which I do, and I don't have to have any money in it right now, especially if it's recently pumped and I've taken profits. So, and even then, like I said, I can leave a moon bag for myself. But as long as I'm paying myself for my time and my effort, right, and I'm moving some of my money into smarter places or moving it into a savings account that's earning me an APR, and we'll talk about that in a different show. But, as long as you're moving that money in and out of these coins and catching at least some of these pumps, you're better off than just sitting there and riding up and down. That roller coaster is tough on you. It's mentally stressful. It takes its toll. And so why not just catch the pumps while you can?
At some point, Litecoin will be a great play again. I remember we talked about this at the very beginning. The time to get in was June, July, early July, not August, because August is after the halving. And so we are only
even a week out of the halving. We showed you a week out of the halving. Historically, you don't want to be in an LTC position because that's when it starts to take the dive.
It still might run. It
definitely will. It absolutely will, because we're moving into a bull run. But now, now that we've hit this halving event, it's going to be ugly times for LTC as far as I can see.
Maybe. But here's the thing. If you do get ugly times and we retrace back into the 70, 60 area range in a few months, guess what? New opportunity.
It might be time to re-enter that position.
In and out. You see where this goes. Now, one major point we've been making is it's important to take profits. And we mentioned the bounce token yesterday, and my goodness, this is a beautiful illustration of how things can change drastically in crypto. Right after we went off the air, bounce token went nuts, Mr. FOMO. Okay. I don't know if you guys hopefully can see this, but we were pushing early this morning. Look at this. We were pushing almost $18. Where are we now? Back to 9. So we pumped. Remember, this is one that I said, this is the 1-day chart. This is not something I would hold long term. But when it retraces on my radar, we pumped. We got a 2x in a few hours, and now it's all the way back to 9. Now, this thing's been crazy. If I show you the weekly, and you're going to see how things can change, especially with these small market caps. You got to be really careful. Look at this, Mr. FOMO. Look at this chart. A week ago, you could have gotten under 5. You could have wrote it up, and hopefully you would have taken profits in the 17 range, hopefully. And now it's back down to 9. Now, what does that mean? Not financial advice. It continues to retrace. It is such a small market cap with such a small amount of supply. If it retraces and it's just sitting there and not moving for a while, and BTC hasn't done anything, I don't think that's going to be August, but maybe later in the year, it might be good to come back to that token. But again, it just shows you how quickly things can change, and we don't take profits. You could lose out, and sometimes it's a matter of hours, not days.
All right, and I'm going to show you why it's important, right? I'm going to show you why this pump happened so quickly. I'm going to show you what happened and why you should be willing to get out when tokens like this, especially with small market caps, are pumping like this. And so I'm going to take your share off there, and then I'm going to put. Let's check out these whales in bounce. Wow. So the top 100 addresses control almost 99% of the bounce tokens that are circulating. So when bounce pumps, those people are taking profits, right? And so it's not, this is why we talk about this right here. It's not because I'm not going to call this manipulation. I'm going to call this smart money. Those people have been holding on to this since it was a very low market cap. As it pumps, they have every right to take profits, and they will. And when you see them take profits, you're going to see a sharp decline in that price action. And so that's one of the reasons why we talk about, whale addresses and how much of the circulating supply is controlled by whales, because that makes a big difference when the token is pumping. If you were into something like Chainlink or LTC, the whales can't possibly control 99% of the circulating supply, right? And so the sell pressure is a little bit less. You don't see the price fall after a pump quite as much as you do in these low caps where a small number of people actually control a majority of the supply.
I mean, that's an excellent point. I'm glad you put that chart up because it really illustrates how certain tokens operate differently. Certain tokens are going to have huge retraces within an hour or 2 hours, and other it takes days. So if you buy into something like this, you kind of have to have your phone or computer next to you, because if you bought in, right, and we were talking about this even before the show yesterday, I wish I had mentioned it. If you got in the $5 range, you would have wanted to take profit in the 16, 17. And then if you just look at it like, oh, I'm still in profit, but my profit could have been so much higher. And again, these are not stocks. This is not like buying Apple or Disney. You kind of have to move fast, especially since, and this is important, Mr. FOMO, we are at the very, very beginning of the bull run. If you go to a sporting event, this is like you're driving to the car before they've opened the gates an hour and a half before the game. That's how early we are. Later in, you're going to see just a lot more, hopefully, money in the market, and it's going to be easier to ride these winners. But for now, you just have to be vigilant.
That's it. Just stay patient. The market is going to turn around. This is somewhat cyclical. It's why a lot of us are here, right? We know every 4 years we're going to have a return. And so, you've been suffering through this bull market. You suffered through, bankruptcies for exchanges. You've suffered through all of these ugly times, and you've been DCAing and sticking with it through these ugly times. Now is the time when it's going to pay off. And this is why we're here, right?
Yeah. I mean, the bear hopefully is, I definitely think over. I think 15K was the bottom for sure. And so it's frustrating to some people because they hear bull market and they're like, all right, things are heating up. but it's a very, very slow heat up. So yes, people have been struggling. So it's kind of now people are just slowly putting their feet into the water, but it's not a full-fledged bull. It's the start of one, but it's going to happen slow. But again, I anticipate August will be very good. For Voyager people, we are working on getting more information. I do know this. If you got your withdrawals in before the deadline, they're on their way. You should receive them in the next few days, hopefully either by Friday or early next week. And then I'm looking for information. I've been told we're getting insurance information before the end of the year. I want to know how long. I also want to know if mediation does work. Cross your fingers with Alameda FTX. Is that going to be in USD or is that going to be a check? I'm working on getting that answer for you guys very, very soon. And we'll have that as soon as we can. Again, I want to say thank you so much to everybody that's helped us. And hey, share this channel with someone maybe that's not into crypto yet or has just started. We'd love to have as many people as we can get on this ride together. We've loved the fact that you guys have spent time with us. And again, you want to reach out to us. We're going to put our Twitter handles at the bottom. Please, please do so. Okay. Yes. Great point by Clout. And we're little guys too. DCAing is important. And there's no perfect way to do it. But when you can DCA, as much as you can DCA now, the better. Okay. But again, yeah, Clout makes a great trade. When Bitcoin does retrace, or it hasn't been doing anything for a while. So we hit 30 a while ago. And so if you've been retracing since then, slowly, it's been good for you. Now, what I would say really quickly is this before we leave. If we get a nice big green candle to 35, maybe you wait a few days before you start retracing, DCAing again, and let the retrace happen just a little bit naturally. Just be patient. Again, no one times this perfectly. Just do the best you can.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on there and say thank you to all the people who are out there that have been subscribers, who are still adding themselves to the subscriber list. We've been through some tough times on this channel, and we've helped each other through it. And now we're looking forward to the good times, right? Now we're looking forward to hearing your success stories after, Voyager and Celsius and FTX and all the damage that was done. We're looking forward to celebrating your stories and how you've come back from these things in crypto. And so that's really kind of what I'm looking forward to as we add subs and as you guys interact with us more, is to hear those success stories and how we can help you find those success stories.
Absolutely. And if you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button and the bell notification. For Mr. FOMO, this is AZ Crypto. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
See you.